Hello there folks, in this video I'm gonna show you how I made this fence from my homemade table saw. Firstly, I cut these pieces for the fence which are made of OSB, because I didn't have a single big piece of plywood which is a really good wood for many uses and constructions. I made this project from woods I found in my workshop, like MDF, OSB, pine wood and plywood. Because OSB leaves splinters, I had to sand every surface of the wood really well. Now I assembled these pieces of the fence in order from the biggest to the smallest. The big piece is 60 by 7 cm, the middle one is 40 by 7 cm, and the small one is 20 by 7 cm. I repeated the same process for the other piece. Then I rounded all the edges with a router. Now for this part of the fence I cut a big piece of OSB with dimensions 1.2 meters by 10 centimeters. In order for the piece of wood that I will later cut using the table saw to slide smoothly on the fence, I also glued a piece of plywood 4 mm thick over the 15 mm OSB piece. I clamped them down together and let the glue do the job. For this part of the fence I cut 4 pieces of 91.8 cm by 7 cm. The length depends on the thickness of the drawer slides and the width of the surface of the cabinet I'm going to make. I used this piece of OSB to be able to drill exactly in the center of the other piece of wood. I drilled the holes on all 4 sides. Then with a countersink bit I drilled all the holes again so that the head of the screw that I will later place can go under the top of the wood without splitting it. I sanded very well and rounded all the edges. Then I cut this part of the fence, which consists of two 8.5 by 8.5 cm pieces of plywood. Nailed them, drilled them, countersunk the holes, screwed them, sanded them, and rounded all the edges. Now under the top of the table saw there is this piece of OSB, which consists of one piece with dimensions 70 by 7.2 cm and two pieces with 70 by 4 cm. And I repeated the same process. Nailed, drilled, countersunk the holes, and screwed. Also under the top of the table saw there is this piece of plywood with dimensions 7 by 7 cm that is going to slide into the slot I previously built. After the piece of the fence has dried, it's time to cut the extra piece of plywood. Now for the top surface of the construction I used MDF, 1.2 meters long, 80 cm wide and 2 cm thick. Then I made exactly in the center a slot using the router in order to be able to move the fence with the bolt and tighten at whatever length I wish. Then I cut some pieces of pine wood in order to keep the whole MDF surface straight and so that I will be able to install the drawer slides later. The width of these pieces are 5 cm. Nailed all the pieces together and marked the framework on the MDF in order to make the drill for the screw exactly in the center. I made all the holes perimetrically, placing under the MDF this small piece of plywood in order to avoid any damage on the other side. I flipped it over and with a countersink bit I drilled all the holes again for the same reason. Then aligned and screwed the framework in place. flipped it over again and put the piece I made before exactly in the center. Measured it, marked it, drilled it, countersunk all the holes, put 2 nails to keep it in place, and screwed it down. Also, I put these 2 extra pieces to prevent the wood from breaking. At this point, I put in place the piece of wood that I made before, marked it, and cut the MDF piece. You will see later why I did that. I used these 2 1mm spacers and placed them together with the piece of plywood I cut before into the slot under the table saw in order to mark the center of the wood and put the nut on it later. I measured the thickness of the bolt and I made a 1 cm hole, but at first I used a smaller drill bit. I also measured the nut of the bolt and I opened a hole equal to the width and the thickness of it. And now we are ready to install the nut into the wood. Then I placed it into the slot under the table saw and it's ready. Now I measure the length needed and I remove the head of the bolt. I screwed the bolt into the plastic handle and then drilled them from one side to the other to make them one solid piece. I put a nail into the hole, bent it with a hammer, and then wrapped it with a PVC tape. Also, I opened a 10mm hole to the other piece of wood. Now it's time to install the 2 heavy-duty 60cm ball bearing door slides on the 2 pieces of OSB. I clamped a straight piece of wood in order to install the slides correctly. I found these hinges in my drawers, but for better stability you can use heavy-duty stainless steel door hinges. Then I installed these 2 pieces on the side of the table saw surface. Aligned them, marked them and screwed them with precision. Also, I screwed these 2 pieces of the fence together and installed them on the 2 pieces of OSB with the hinges on that I built before. I placed the bolt with a handle and the piece of wood I drilled before and tightened it together with the other piece with the nut, which is into the slot under the table saw. I aligned it and then installed the fence on it. Now I placed these 2 bolt safety pins on each end of the fence in order to keep it straight and steady to prevent it from moving. Because I didn't have a drill long enough to make the hole directly, I made the right measurements and opened every hole separately. I opened holes equal exactly to the diameter of the bolt safety pins in order to fit in tight. And the fence is finally ready. And let's go! Remove the handle, break it to the edge, and remove the bolt safety pins, and turn it around to cut a long piece of wood. I placed a secure saw under the surface and we are ready to cut. And now the long piece.